Beneath your thoughts and the noise of life lies a hidden scriptan ancient code shaping your reality. Every belief you hold, every word you speak within, programs this code and signals the universe how to respond. Your assumptions aren't idle. They're the blueprint of your life. You've always been the author, just writing unconsciously, guided by old fears and forgotten stories. But you can rewrite the script. When you assume a new truth deeply enough, the universe shifts to meet it. The code is alive within you, waiting to be activated. This is the assumption code key to transforming your inner world into your outer reality. Introduction. You are the coder of your reality. What you are about to hear is not a philosophy, it is a living law, as ancient as the stars and as immediate as the breath in your lungs. The law of assumption is the truth that what you assume to be true in the silent chambers of your mind must appear in your outer world. The world you walk through is not a random unfolding of events. It is a mirror, a reflection, a perfect rendering of the code you've written within. This is not the law of effort, nor the law of chance. This is the law of being. Whatever you assume yourself to be, whatever you assume the world to be, so it becomes. Think of yourself as a living transmitter. Every thought, every feeling, every assumption sends out a frequency, a message encoded in the invisible ethers. And the universe, ever faithful, reads this message and echoes it back to you in form and experience. But here is the hidden truth. You have been coding your reality all along. Every time you said, "I never get what I want," or "I am blessed beyond measure," you inscribe these assumptions into the very fabric of your existence. This audiobook is not about filling your mind with empty affirmations or fleeting hopes. No, this is a sacred invitation to assume with authority, to feel with certainty, to embody with power, to pick up the ancient pen of creation and write the code anew. It does not matter what your past has been. It does not matter what the world says is possible. The code is written by your hand. The universe follows your lead. You have been given dominion, not over others, but over your reality, over the field where thought becomes form, where assumption becomes experience. Let us journey together through the teachings that awaken this forgotten power. You will learn to listen to your inner speech, to feel the truth of your desires, to align your self-concept with the highest version of yourself. And as you do, the code will shift, and so too will your world. Are you ready to unlock the reality written in your mind? Let us begin. Chapter 1. The Code Beneath It All. Imagine, for a moment, that the entire universe is a vast, living, networking, infinite tapestry woven from thought, feeling, and energy. Every star, every tree, every heartbeat exists within this intricate design, responding not to chance, but to a code written beneath the surface of all things. Now, bring your attention closer to your own life, to the moments that seem mundane, the patterns that repeat, the dreams that linger at the edge of your experience. Beneath all of these too, there is a codea living script shaping the world you walk through. And here is the sacred truth. You are the coder. Not by accident, not by default, but by the nature of your being. You write the script of your life with every assumption you hold. Whether those assumptions were given to you in childhood, forged in the fires of past experience, or chosen with conscious intent, they form the blueprint from which your reality is made. Let this sink in. Your assumptions are not passive. They are active commands, pulsing through the unseen realms, shaping the tangible world. In an ancient desert, where sand whispered secrets to the wind, a wanderer named Elias stumbled upon a forgotten temple. Its walls were etched with symbols long faded by time. At the heart of this temple lay a single inscription, still visible beneath the dust. As thou assumest, so shall it be. Elias, like you, had searched for answers outside himself, for signs, for fate, for proof. But the temple spoke a deeper truth. His assumptions, silent, unseen, had been the architects of his journey all along. And from that day, Elias began to assume differently. Not from fear, but from faith. Not from doubt, but from knowing. He assumed that life favored him. He assumed that doors opened. He assumed that the desert would bloom for him, and the desert, obedient to the code, did. So I ask you now, what assumptions have you etched upon the temple walls of your mind? Perhaps you have walked through life assuming that success is hard, that love is fleeting, that abundance is reserved for others. If so, these are the codes that shape your days. But here's the divine gift. The code can be rewritten. The universe holds no attachment to the script you've been following. It responds not to history, but to the present assumption you choose to hold. In a small town nestled between emerald hills lived Maria, a seamstress whose life felt stitched with struggle. Each morning she rose with the silent belief, nothing ever changes. And so, day after day, the thread of her experience followed the same tired pattern. Until one morning, as dawn painted the sky in hues of gold, Maria decided to rewrite the code. She stood before her mirror, her reflection weary but willing, and she whispered a new assumption: everything flows in my favor. At first, the world seemed unchanged. The same hills, the same worn path to her shop. But Maria, you see, had altered the script, and slowly, reality obeyed. A traveler stopped by her window, admiring her craft. A new opportunity arose, unexpected but welcome. The threads of her life, once tangled in lack, began to weave a new design. This is the law at work, not wishful thinking, not blind hope, but the sacred mechanism of assumption. You are writing your reality even now. The question is, what are you assuming? Sacred practice. Rewriting the code. Find a quiet moment today, a sacred pause in the flow of life. With pen and paper, write down the 3 most persistent assumptions you hold about your life. Be honest. What inner scripts have been running, perhaps unnoticed? Now, beside each one, rewrite the code. Transform the assumption into a present-tense truth that aligns with your desired reality. If you've assumed, "I always struggle to make ends meet," rewrite, "Abundance flows to me effortlessly." If you've assumed, "I am always overlooked," rewrite, "I am seen, valued, and celebrated." Speak these new codes aloud, not as hopes, but as declarations of what already is. Feel them settle into the fabric of your being. Let them take root. Remember, the code responds to your assumption, not your effort. You need not force life to change. You only need to assume it is already done. As Elias discovered in the desert and Maria in her humble shop, the world reshapes itself around the script you hold within. You are the coder. The assumption is the code. And life is the obedient mirror. Chapter 2. The Mirror and the Code. There is a mirror, more ancient than any polished glass, more reflective than still waters under moonlight. This mirror is not crafted by human hands nor bound by physical laws, but it follows you always, reflecting not the face you wear but the essence you carry. It shows you not merely your image, but your assumptions. This mirror is life itself. And here lies the sacred mystery. Life does not reflect what you want. Life reflects what you assume. You may gaze upon the world and believe you are observing it, but in truth, you are beholding your own assumptions mirrored back to you, moment by moment, thought by thought. The relationships you navigate, the opportunities that appear or seem to elude you, the patterns that persist, these are not external circumstances detached from your control. They are reflections. They are echoes of the code running within you. The assumption code works like this. The moment you hold an inner belief as true, it becomes the template that the mirror of life uses to shape your experience. It does not argue with you. It does not challenge your declarations. It simply reflects them with unwavering fidelity, like a silent servant that obeys the unspoken commands of your heart. Consider for a moment the story of Leonard, a humble stonemason who toiled each day beneath the shadow of a belief he carried unknowingly: I am invisible. In the village square, he passed unnoticed. His work, though skilled, went uncelebrated. His efforts felt swallowed by the world's indifference. But Leonard's invisibility was not decreed by fate. It was written into his code, carved silently into the stone of his own assumption. One autumn evening, as golden leaves drifted like whispers of change, Leonard sat beneath an ancient tree and heard the words of a traveling sage. The sage spoke softly: "The world sees you as you see yourself." These words struck Leonard like the chisel strikes the stone. In that moment, he saw clearly. His invisibility was not imposed from without. It was projected from within. From that day, Leonard changed his assumption. Not outwardly, for he told no one. But inwardly, he began to carry the quiet truth: I am seen, I am valued, I am recognized. And like the stone he shaped with care, the world began to mold itself to this new design. Eyes that once passed him by now paused in admiration. Opportunities that once seemed locked began to open, as if the universe itself acknowledged the new code he carried. The mirror of life cannot show you what you have not first assumed. This is the law, and it operates with exactness. You cannot curse the mirror for the reflection it provides, nor can you force it to show you an image you refuse to hold within. The reflection changes only when the source changes. How often have you gazed into the mirror of life and believed it to be fixed? How often have you assumed that the circumstances you face are evidence of your worth, when in truth they are only the reflection of the assumptions you carry? The universe, in its infinite grace, does not argue. It reflects. If you carry within you the silent script of "I am not enough," life will echo that message in countless ways, in the relationships that falter, in the opportunities that drift away. If you assume money is hard to come by, then even when abundance stands at your door, it will find a way to slip through your fingers. The mirror shows you what you assume, not what you desire, not what you plead for, but what you believe in the sacred chambers of your mind. But here is the great liberation. You can change the code. You can write a new script. When you rewrite the code, the mirror cannot help but reflect the change. It has no will of its own. It simply follows the script you provide. In a distant village by the sea, there lived Amelia, a healer whose hands worked wonders, yet whose life was marked by struggle. Every day, she assumed, I must sacrifice to serve others. And so the mirror obeyed. Her days were long, her needs unmet, her joy dimmed beneath the weight of duty. But when a fellow traveler shared with her the simple truth, "You are worthy of receiving as much as you give," Amelia rewrote her code. She began to assume, "I serve from abundance, I am replenished as I give." Her outer world, the mirror that followed her faithfully, shifted. Patience began bringing gifts of gratitude. Unexpected blessings arrived at her door, and joy returned to her work. The reflection changed because the source, the assumption, changed. This is not magic in the way the world often defines it. It is the sacred science of assumption. The mirror is neutral. It reflects your certainty. Whether your certainty leans into lack or abundance, into fear or faith, the mirror remains faithful. It will not betray your assumption. So the question arises, what reflection do you desire to see? Not from the space of longing, but from the place of knowing. For it is not enough to wish for a new reflection. You must become the source that generates it. You must assume the code. Here is the deeper layer of this truth. The mirror of life does not operate in time as you know it. It reflects the now. If you carry an assumption of someday, the mirror reflects back someday. If you assume, I am now, the mirror reflects now. When you say to yourself, I will be wealthy, the mirror will always keep it in the future tense. But when you say, I am wealth, the mirror has no choice but to reflect that truth in the present. This is why the state of being is the key. You must assume now, not later. Later is an illusion. Now is the only reality. Sacred practice, the mirror ritual. Find a mirror today, a real one. Stand before it in stillness. Look not merely at your reflection, but into your eyes, into the depths of your own soul. Speak aloud 3 assumptions that have governed your life but no longer serve you. Feel them as the old code. Then, one by one, rewrite the code. Speak the new assumptions, not as wishes, but as present truths. Say them with the tone of certainty, as though engraving them upon the very surface of the mirror. I am worthy. I am seen. I am abundant. Let the words vibrate within you as you gaze into your reflection. See the light shift behind your eyes. This is not a performance. This is a declaration, a rewriting of the code. Return to this ritual each day for a week, allowing the mirror to witness the new script you carry. And as the mirror within shifts, so too will the mirror of life respond. The code is beneath it all. The mirror reflects it all. And you are the one who holds the pen. Chapter 3. Feeling is the signal. There is a hidden language that speaks louder than words, that shapes reality in ways unseen by the naked eye. It flows beneath every assumption, infusing it with life, giving it power, summoning the forces of creation to respond. This language is feeling. Feeling is the lifeblood of the assumption code. It is the electricity that animates the written word, the vibration that sends your assumption into the ethers where it becomes form. You may speak an assumption 1,000 times, but without feeling, your words are hollow, like seeds scattered on barren ground. It is feeling that turns those seeds into a garden. The universe listens not to the words you say, but to the frequency behind them. Feeling is the signal. It is the command that instructs the mirror of life to reflect your inner world with precision. Let me tell you the story of Evelyn, a woman who longed for abundance but whose heart was cloaked in silent fear. Each morning she recited affirmations with her lips. I am wealthy, I am abundant. But her chest remained tight with doubt. Her stomach knotted with worry. She could speak the words, but the feeling behind them betrayed her true assumption. The mirror of life reflected not the words she spoke, but the vibration she carried. And so, despite her affirmations, scarcity remained her companion. Until one morning, beneath the soft light of dawn, Evelyn allowed herself to feel something different. She closed her eyes, placed her hand upon her heart, and asked, what would it feel like to truly know abundance? In that sacred moment, a warmth spread through her, a quiet joy, a sense of safety that she had not known before. She leaned into it. She surrendered to the feeling as though it were already real. And there, in that state, her words became alive. I am abundant, she whispered again, but this time the universe listened. The signal had been sent, not from her lips, but from her vibration. This is the essence of the assumption code. Feeling is the signal that activates the code. Without it, even the most poetic affirmations are lifeless. But when feeling and assumption align, they create a beacon so powerful that the universe cannot help but respond. Consider the sun and the earth. The sun shines not because it tries, but because it is. Its warmth is felt across the cosmos. Likewise, your assumption must radiate with feeling, not forced, not manufactured, but real. Authentic feeling is the signal that says to the universe, this is true now. You cannot fake the frequency. The universe is not deceived by empty words. It reads the vibration of your being, the tone of your emotional state. You might say, "I am successful." But if the feeling within you trembles with fear of failure, the signal is mixed, and the mirror reflects the confusion. Let's explore the story of Daniel, an artist whose talent was undeniable but whose life seemed locked in cycles of rejection. He told himself he was ready for success, that the world would recognize his gifts. Yet beneath the surface, Daniel felt the sting of every past rejection. His body carried the weight of discouragement, even as his mind tried to speak new words. One evening, he sat before a blank canvas, his heart heavy. But instead of forcing himself to paint or recite another affirmation, Daniel paused. He closed his eyes and imagined. Not the act of painting, but the feeling of his work celebrated, cherished, honored. He felt the warmth of applause, the gratitude of those touched by his art. His body softened, his breath deepened. In that moment, he painted not from effort but from the feeling of fulfillment. Weeks later, an opportunity emerged. A gallery that once overlooked his work now invited him to showcase his art. Not because Daniel chased it, but because his signal changed. He aligned the feeling with the assumption. Here is what you must understand. Your feeling is the true command. When your feeling matches your assumption, the mirror of life reflects it without hesitation. But how do you generate this feeling, especially when your outer world offers no evidence? This is where the power of imagination becomes your sacred tool. Imagination allows you to step into the state of the wish fulfilled, to feel the end result even before it appears. You do not wait for the outer world to give you permission to feel successful, loved, abundant. You feel it now. You create the signal in the present, and the universe rearranges to match it. Imagine, as you close your eyes, the scene of your desire fulfilled. Feel the textures, hear the sounds, taste the air of that reality. But most importantly, feel the emotions of that moment: joy, relief, excitement, peace. Let these emotions rise within you, anchoring your assumption in the only place that matters. Now, sacred practice, the feeling amplifier. Tonight, as the world grows quiet, find a space where you can be alone, undisturbed. Close your eyes and bring to mind one desire that you hold close, not as a longing, but as an assumed reality. Ask yourself, what would it feel like if this were already true? Let the images rise, but focus not on the visuals alone. Feel the emotional tone. Allow the feeling to bloom within you, expanding from your heart outward. If your desire is abundance, feel the relief, the gratitude, the spaciousness it brings. If your desire is love, feel the warmth, the safety, the joy. Let these feelings amplify until they are the dominant vibration within you. Hold this state for 5-10 minutes. Let the feeling flood your being, and when you open your eyes, carry this feeling with you. Let it inform your steps, your words, your choices. Repeat this practice daily, knowing that feeling is the signal that writes the code. Your outer world will begin to shift not by force, but by reflection. For the universe, like the faithful mirror it is, listens always not to what you say, but to what you feel. Assume with feeling, signal with certainty, and watch as life reflects it all. Chapter 4. The Self-Concept Blueprint. If you were to peel back the layers of your assumptions, beneath them you would find something even more foundational, more commanding: a blueprint, etched not in stone, but in the living waters of your being. This blueprint is your self-concept, the image you hold of who you are and what is possible for you. Every assumption, every feeling, every reflection in the mirror of life springs forth from this singular root. You cannot out-earn, out-love, or out-manifest the image you hold of yourself. The universe, ever faithful, reflects back to you not merely your desires, but who you believe yourself to be. Your self-concept is the architecture from which your entire reality is constructed. You may long for wealth, but if your self-concept whispers, "I am unworthy," wealth will remain a distant shore, glimpsed but never reached. You may dream of love, but if your self-concept repeats, "I am not enough," love will knock but never enter. This is the core of the assumption code. The code is not just what you assume about life, it is what you assume about yourself. And this self-concept, this blueprint, governs every manifestation, every relationship, every opportunity that flouts or fails to flow into your experience. Consider the story of Samuel, a man of talent and drive, yet whose life felt like an endless uphill climb. He believed in hard work, in striving, in pushing against the current. But beneath all his effort lay a silent blueprint. "I must struggle to succeed." And so, despite his brilliance, life mirrored that belief. Opportunities came, but only through strain. Success arrived, but always at a high cost. Until Samuel paused one evening, his body weary, his spirit tired. And in that pause, he asked the question that changed everything. Who do I believe myself to be? For the first time, he saw the blueprint clearly. He had assumed himself to be someone who must always fight for his place in the world. But what if he changed the blueprint? What if he assumed a new truth? That night, beneath the soft glow of a solitary lamp, Samuel rewrote his self-concept. "I am one with ease and flow. Success comes to me naturally, effortlessly." And though the world did not shift overnight, the foundation beneath him did. Slowly the current turned, opportunities aligned without struggle. Life responded to the new blueprint as it always does. You see, the self-concept is the seedbed of all assumption. Change the seed, and the garden must follow. It is not enough to assume wealth, love, or success in isolation. You must assume yourself to be worthy of these things, to be the kind of person for whom these realities are natural, expected, and inevitable. In a quiet village nestled between misty hills, there lived Clara, a midwife known for her gentle touch and wisdom. Yet beneath her grace, Clara held an assumption unspoken, an image of herself as one who was only ever a giver, never a receiver. Her life reflected this blueprint. She gave tirelessly but received little in return, until one spring morning, as blossoms adorned the path to her cottage, Clara sat beneath an old oak tree and whispered a new truth: "I am worthy of receiving in equal measure to my giving." This simple shift in self-concept, this rewriting of the blueprint, transformed her world. She began to receive not through effort or asking, but because she had changed who she assumed herself to be. The mirror of life, always obedient, reflected the new image back to her. Understand this deeply. You cannot receive beyond the measure of your self-concept. The universe will not give to you what you secretly believe yourself unworthy to have. It does not punish or withhold, it simply mirrors the image you hold within. But here is the sacred liberation. You can change the image. You can revise the blueprint. You are not bound by the assumptions you inherited, the stories written for you by others, the labels pasted upon you by society. Your self-concept is fluid, malleable, ready to be rewritten by your own hand. Sacred practice, rewriting the blueprint. Today, carve out a space of quiet reflection. With pen and paper, write down the current self-concept that governs your life. Be honest. What do you assume about yourself in the silent chambers of your heart? Do you believe yourself to be worthy of ease, or do you carry the blueprint of struggle? Do you assume yourself lovable, or do you quietly believe love must be earned? Do you see yourself as abundant, or do you wear the identity of scarcity? Write these assumptions down. Let them reveal themselves without judgment. Now, beside each limiting belief, rewrite the blueprint. Craft a new self-concept, one that aligns with the reality you desire to experience. If you've carried the belief, "I am overlooked," rewrite it as, "I am seen, valued, and cherished wherever I go." If you've assumed, "I must work hard to survive," rewrite it as, "Abundance flows to me with ease and grace." Speak these new truths aloud, not as distant hopes, but as present realities. Feel them settle into your being, reshaping the blueprint from which your life is built. This is not a one-time act. It is a sacred practice of becoming. Each day, revisit your new self-concept. Let it take root. Let it become the soil from which your assumptions grow. The assumption code begins and ends with your self-concept. As you change the image you hold within, the mirror of life, faithful as ever, will reflect it back to you. Not because the world changes, but because you have changed the blueprint. You are the architect. You hold the pen, and the blueprint of your being is ready to be redrawn. Chapter 5. The Bridge of Imagination. There is a place within you, ancient and boundless, where the seeds of reality are first planted. It is not a physical place, nor one that the eyes can behold. It is the sanctuary of your imagination, the sacred bridge between the invisible and the seen. This is the realm where the assumption code is first written, where thought becomes image and image becomes reality. Imagination is not a child's plaything, nor the idle wandering of an unanchored mind. It is the workshop of creation, the forge where assumptions take form. What you imagine with conviction, with emotional certainty, is as real to the universe as the ground beneath your feet. The universe does not distinguish between what you see with your outer eyes and what you hold vividly in your inner vision. It responds to both equally and faithfully. This is the secret that mystics, sages, and visionaries have known through the ages. Imagination is the first act of creation. Before anything manifests in your outer world, it must first be forged in the fires of your inner vision. The bridge of imagination connects the realm of the unseen, the realm of possibility, to the realm of the seen, the realm of form. In a quiet corner of a sprawling city lived Eleanor, a seamstress with dreams far larger than her modest shop. Her days were spent stitching garments for others, but her nights belonged to her imagination. Each evening, as the moon rose high, Eleanor would close her eyes and step into the scene of her fulfilled desire. She saw herself in a grand atelier, sunlight pouring through tall windows, fabrics from distant lands draping her tables, customers admiring her creations. But more than seeing it, she felt it. She smelled the lavender sachets tucked into her shelves, heard the gentle murmur of satisfied clients, felt the joy swelling within her chest as her dream came alive behind closed eyes. In the world outside, nothing had changed. The streets were still noisy. Her shop remained modest, but within Eleanor's imagination, she walked the halls of her future. Weeks turned to months, and the outer world, ever faithful to the inner script, began to shift. A traveling merchant, charmed by her work, offered to introduce her to new suppliers. A wealthy client commissioned a full wardrobe. The atelier Eleanor had visited in her imagination took shape in the world, not by force, but by reflection. This is the power of the bridge of imagination. The universe obeys the images you impress upon it with feeling. What you hold vividly within, with faith and consistency, must take form without. For the universe, reality begins where your imagination dwells. Yet, many let their imagination wander aimlessly, replaying scenes of fear, doubt, and limitation. They rehearse failure, scarcity, and rejection without even realizing it. And the universe, impartial as ever, mirrors these inner rehearsals back to them in form. But you are the conscious architect. You can choose the scenes you play. You can rehearse success, abundance, love, joy, as deliberately as an actor prepares for the stage. Your imagination is the bridge, but your focus is the key. What you repeatedly imagine, with feeling, becomes your reality. Consider Michael, a young musician who yearned to perform on the grandest stages, but found himself stuck playing small gigs in crowded pubs. His self-concept, forged through years of struggle, held him captive in this pattern. Until one evening, weary of his circumstances, Michael turned inward. He closed his eyes and imagined himself beneath the brilliant lights of a great concert hall. He felt the energy of the crowd, the resonance of his music filling the space, the warmth of success radiating from within. Night after night he returned to this scene, feeling it as real, living it in his mind long before it touched his physical world. Months later, a talent scout, lost in the noise of a crowded pub, heard Michael's performance. An invitation followed, leading to a stage far grander than any he had known. But the stage was not the beginning, it was the reflection of what Michael had built first in his imagination. This is the sacred truth. Your imagination is the seedbed of your future. What you plant there with feeling and certainty must, by law, grow in your experience. Sacred practice, crossing the bridge. Each evening, as the world quiets, find a space where you will not be disturbed. Sit comfortably and close your eyes. Choose one desire that lives in your heart, a dream, a goal, a vision. See it as already fulfilled. But do not simply see, engage all your senses. Feel the textures beneath your fingertips. Hear the sounds of your fulfilled desire. Breathe in the scent of your success. Taste the sweetness of your triumph. Let the scene become vivid, alive, saturated with the feeling of reality. If you seek abundance, see yourself walking through your home, feeling the richness of space, the comfort of freedom. If you desire love, feel the warmth of shared laughter, the safety of being cherished. Let the scene unfold naturally, letting your imagination carry you across the bridge into the world where your assumption is already fact. Remain in this scene for as long as it feels alive. Then, as you open your eyes, carry that feeling into your waking world. Know that the assumption code is already at work, writing this vision into your reality. Repeat this practice daily, not as a chore, but as a sacred ritual. With each visit across the bridge of imagination, you weave the unseen into the seen. The universe responds to your inner vision as surely as the dawn follows night. Imagination is your bridge, feeling is your signal, and assumption is the code. Cross the bridge with faith, and the world will meet you on the other side. Chapter 6. The Echo of Inner Speech. There is a voice within you, one that speaks not with sound but with subtle whispers that shape the entire landscape of your life. This voice, your inner speech, is the silent architect behind every assumption, every belief, every experience that takes form in your world. While the words you speak aloud may carry weight, it is the unspoken dialogue within, the thoughts you murmur to yourself in the quiet chambers of your mind, that truly command your reality. This is the sacred truth of the assumption code. Your inner speech is the blueprint from which the universe draws its instructions. Every word you speak to yourself, whether filled with doubt or with certainty, becomes an echo that reverberates through the ethers, summoning experiences to match its tone. You may walk through your day with a smile, offering kind words to others. Yet beneath that surface, what do you whisper to yourself? What words linger in the background of your consciousness? Are they words of power or words of limitation? Are they declarations of abundance or subtle chants of lack? The universe, ever attentive, listens not to your outer performance but to your inner conviction. It hears the quiet, constant echo of your thoughts, and it shapes your world accordingly. The assumption code is written in these silent words, repeated daily, often unnoticed. Let me share the story of Helen, a devoted teacher who loved her students but carried within her the assumption that she was never quite enough. Outwardly, she poured herself into her work. Her lessons were thoughtful, her care undeniable. Yet her inner speech, the echo within, spoke a different truth. I am overlooked, I am unseen. Day after day, her efforts seemed to go unnoticed. Promotions passed her by. Gratitude from others felt scarce. But it was not the world that had overlooked her, it was the echo of her own inner speech shaping the mirror of her experience. One evening, as she walked home beneath the soft glow of streetlights, Helen paused. She listened not to the sounds of the world, but to the whispers within. And she heard them clearly, as though for the first time. I am overlooked. She realized then that these words, this silent chant, had written her story. From that night, Helen began to rewrite the echo. Every morning, as she prepared for her day, she spoke to herself with deliberate intent. I am seen, I am valued, I am celebrated. At first, the old echoes lingered, trying to hold their place. But Helen persisted. With each repetition, with each declaration, the old script began to fade, and a new echo took its place. Within weeks, the outer world responded. Her principal acknowledged her efforts publicly. Parents began to express their gratitude. The students, too, seemed more engaged, more appreciative. The mirror of life, as always, reflected back the echo of her inner speech. This is the power of the silent word. Your inner dialogue is not idle chatter. It is the command center of your reality. What you say within, the universe echoes without. But here's the deeper mystery. The inner speech is both the cause and the effect. As you change it, your outer world shifts, which in turn reinforces the new inner echo. A cycle of creation begins, one that spirals upward into greater alignment, greater fulfillment. Consider Daniel, an entrepreneur whose business ventures always seemed to fall short of success. Outwardly, he projected confidence. Yet inwardly, his inner speech whispered, I am not cut out for this. I always fail. The universe, impartial as ever, mirrored that belief, orchestrating situations where failure seemed inevitable. One day, weary of the struggle, Daniel turned inward. He sat in silence, listening to the stream of thoughts that flowed beneath his actions. When he heard those familiar words, I always fail, he made a sacred decision to change the dialogue. He replaced the old chant with a new decree. I am capable. I am successful. I am thriving. He spoke these words throughout his day, especially when doubt tried to return. Over time, his inner echo shifted, and the world, in faithful response, began to rearrange. His business found new opportunities, partnerships emerged, and success, once elusive, became the natural reflection of his inner speech. This is not about forcing positivity or drowning out genuine feelings. It is about consciously choosing the words that shape your world. The assumption code does not require blind optimism, it requires deliberate creation. Sacred practice. Rewriting the echo. Today, become the guardian of your inner speech. Listen, not to judge, but to understand the words that echo within. Notice the phrases that repeat, especially when challenges arise or when you stand before opportunities. Write down the 3 most common phrases you hear in your inner dialogue. Do they empower you, or do they limit you? Now, rewrite these phrases as powerful declarations that align with your desired reality. Speak them aloud, not as hopes, but as truths. Feel their resonance as they shift the echo within. For example, if your inner speech whispers, I'm not good enough, rewrite it as, I am more than enough. I am worthy of every good thing. If it repeats, nothing ever works out for me. Replace it with, Everything always works out in my favor. Practice this daily until the new echo becomes natural, until the universe, like a faithful mirror, begins to reflect these new words back to you. Your inner speech is the foundation of the assumption code. The words you speak within are the seeds. The outer world is the harvest. Tend to this inner garden with care, and the harvest will be bountiful. Chapter 7. Emotional Alchemy. Beneath the surface of every thought, beneath every assumption, flows an ancient river emotion. It is the silent current that carries your assumptions into form, the energy that breathes life into the code you write within. Without emotion, assumptions remain lifeless seeds. But when charged with feeling, those seeds awaken, rise, and blossom into the visible world. This is emotional alchemy, the sacred art of transforming thought into reality through feeling. The assumption code is not merely about thinking new thoughts or speaking affirmations. It is about infusing them with the fire of emotion. Thought is the structure, but emotion is the breath that animates it, the force that sends the signal out into the universe. Without emotion, even the most eloquent words remain dormant. But when paired with genuine feeling, those same words become creative power. Imagine standing at the edge of a great forest. Before you lies fertile soil waiting to be sown. Your thoughts are the seeds in your hands, but it is emotion that waters them, that provides the nourishment for growth. Thought may set the intention, but emotion sends the roots deep into the earth of your subconscious mind. Let me tell you of Jonathan, a man whose life felt like an endless cycle of monotony. He longed for change, for passion, for vibrancy, but his days remained gray, his routines unchanged. He spoke the words of transformation, "I am alive. I am passionate." Yet nothing shifted. His words, though spoken, were dry, disconnected from the force that could make them real. One morning, while watching the sunrise paint the sky in brilliant hues, something stirred within Jonathan. He felt, for the first time in many years, a spark of awe, a ripple of wonder. In that moment, he spoke again, "I am alive." But this time, he felt it. The emotion surged through him like a wave, infusing his words with power. That day, and the days that followed, the grayness began to lift. His routines shifted, opportunities arose, and life, once stagnant, began to flow. Emotion is the alchemical fire that transforms your assumptions into gold. Without it, you are merely reciting lines on a stage. But when feeling rises to meet your words, you awaken the forces of creation. In a quiet village by the sea there lived Anya, a fisherwoman who believed her life was bound to the tides of limitation. She assumed herself small, her world confined to the shorelines she knew. But one stormy night, as waves crashed against the rocks, Anya felt a surge of defiance, of power. She stood at the edge of the sea, raised her arms to the storm, and declared, "I am limitless." The sea did not quiet immediately, nor did the winds calm. But within Anya, something shifted. The emotion behind her words ignited a new assumption, a new reality. In the months that followed, she expanded her trade, journeyed beyond familiar waters, and discovered opportunities far beyond the shores she once believed were her limits. This is emotional alchemy, transformation of inner belief into outer reality through the power of feeling. But how do you harness this fire? How do you ensure that your assumptions are infused with the emotion needed to bring them to life? The answer lies in consciously generating the feeling tone of your desired reality. You must not wait for the outer world to give you permission to feel successful, abundant, or loved. You must feel it now, before there is evidence, before the mirror reflects it back to you. Consider the act of emotional rehearsal. Just as an athlete visualizes victory, feeling the triumph long before the race is run, You too must rehearse the emotions of your fulfilled desires. Let your body feel the joy, the relief, the gratitude, as though what you seek is already yours. The assumption code responds not to empty thoughts, but to embodied emotion. It listens to the vibration beneath your words, to the frequency of your feeling. Let's explore the story of Rachel, a woman who dreamed of love yet felt the ache of loneliness in her heart. She whispered affirmations of connection, but her emotions remained tethered to longing, to absence. Until one evening, beneath a sky filled with stars, Rachel closed her eyes and asked herself, what would it feel like to be truly loved? She let the feeling rise: warmth, safety, joy. She imagined the touch of a hand, the sound of laughter shared, the simple peace of knowing she was cherished. The emotion flooded her being, and in that moment, her assumption shifted. She wasn't hoping for love, she felt it as present reality. In the weeks that followed, Rachel's world began to mirror this inner change. New connections formed, unexpected invitations appeared. The love she had rehearsed emotionally became tangible in her life. Emotion is the magnet that draws reality to you. It is the current that carries your assumptions into form. Sacred practice, the fire of feeling. Each day, set aside a moment for emotional alchemy. Choose one assumption you wish to embody, a truth you desire to make real. Close your eyes and step into the scene of your fulfilled desire. But do not focus solely on the images, let the feelings rise. Ask yourself, what does this feel like? Let the emotion flow through your body, saturating every cell. If you are calling forth abundance, feel the relief, the joy, the freedom it brings. If you are assuming love, feel the warmth, the connection, the peace. Let these emotions burn brightly within you, fueling the assumption with life. Remain in this state for 5 to 10 minutes, allowing the emotion to anchor the assumption into your being. Do not rush this process, it is sacred. Remember, emotion is the fuel that powers the assumption code. It transforms thought into reality, possibility into presence. You are the alchemist. Your assumptions are the ingredients. And emotion is the fire that forges them into gold. Chapter 8. The Law of Reflection. The world you walk through, the faces you meet, the opportunities that rise or retreat, they are not random, they are not arbitrary. They are reflections of the assumptions you carry within. The universe, vast and infinite though it may seem, operates like a mirror, faithfully reflecting back the image you hold of yourself and your life. This is the law of reflection, the sacred truth that the outer world can only echo the inner world. You do not experience life as it is. You experience life as you are. The people you meet, the challenges you face, the abundance or lack you encounter, are the polished surfaces that reflect the image within. This is not punishment, nor reward. It is law. It is the echo of your assumptions, returning to you so that you may know what seeds you have planted in the garden of your consciousness. When you look into a physical mirror and see your reflection, you do not curse the glass for what it shows. You understand that the mirror reflects what stands before it. And yet, how often do we curse the mirror of life for showing us reflections we dislike? How often do we resent the outer world for reflecting the very assumptions we have etched into our inner being? But here is the profound liberation. The mirror does not judge. The mirror does not resist. It simply reflects, and it can reflect something new the moment you change what stands before it. Consider Leah, a woman whose relationship seemed always to echo disappointment. Time and again, she found herself entangled in cycles of mistrust, rejection, and heartache. She believed herself to be unlucky in love, cursed perhaps by fate. But one afternoon, as sunlight streamed through her window and caught her reflection in the glass, Leah paused. For the first time, she wondered, what if life is not doing this to me? What if life is reflecting me? In that quiet moment, she turned inward. She discovered an assumption hidden beneath her longing. I am not worthy of love that stays. This belief, unspoken but alive within her, was the image the mirror of life had faithfully reflected. With this realization came power. Leah began to reshape the image within. She spoke new truths to herself. I am worthy of lasting love. I am cherished. I am chosen. Slowly, the mirror of life responded. Relationships that echoed the old belief faded away. New connections formed, grounded in respect and mutual care. The outer reflection changed, not through force, but through the transformation of the inner image. This is the law of reflection at work. The outer world can only show you what you assume to be true within. It does not invent your experiences, it reflects them. But the mirror does not delay. The reflection shifts the moment the image does. It does not hold on to the past. It is ever present, ever responding. There is a story of Isaac, a merchant whose business seemed perpetually stuck in scarcity. Each quarter, his ledgers told the same story, barely enough to get by. He blamed the market, the economy, the competition. But one evening, beneath the flicker of candlelight, Isaac turned inward and asked, "What if my business reflects not the world, but me?" In that moment of introspection, he saw the assumption clearly. I am not destined for wealth. This belief had shaped his experience, reflecting back through his business affairs quarter after quarter. Isaac made a decision that night to change the reflection by changing the image. He began to assume, I am a prosperous merchant. Wealth flows through me. Though the market remained the same, the mirror shifted. New opportunities arose, clients appeared, and wealth began to flow not because the world changed first, but because Isaac did. This is the sacred teaching. Your outer world is a reflection, not a cause. It does not dictate your inner state, it reflects it. And this reflection can only change when you change the image it mirrors. But here is the mystery that few understand. The mirror reflects with precision, not intention. You may wish for abundance, love, or peace, but if the image within contradicts that wish, the mirror will reflect the image, not the longing. The mirror does not reflect your desires. It reflects your assumptions. If you carry the image of lack, the mirror will reflect lack. If you carry the image of unworthiness, the mirror will reflect rejection. But the moment you assume a new image, the reflection must follow. It has no choice. This is the assumption code in motion, and the law of reflection is its faithful servant. Sacred practice. Meeting the mirror. Today, take time to meet the mirror of life. Reflect upon one area where you see a recurring pattern, be it relationships, finances, health, or opportunity. Ask yourself, what image am I holding within that this mirror reflects? Write down the assumption that has been shaping this reflection. Be honest. Do not judge. Simply witness the image. Now, redesign the image. Choose the assumption that aligns with the reflection you desire. If your current image says, I am always overlooked, replace it with, I am always seen and valued. If the image repeats, I struggle for every dollar, replace it with, wealth flows to me freely and abundantly. Each day, revisit this new image. Embody it, feel it, speak it. Know that the mirror of life is shifting, responding to the new image you hold. The reflection cannot remain the same when the image changes. This is the sacred law. The mirror does not argue. It reflects. As you walk through your world, remember, life is not showing you what is real. Life is showing you what you assume. Change the image, the reflection will follow. Chapter 9. Living from the End. There is a posture of the soul, a stance of certainty, where desire and fulfillment are not separated by distance or time, but are woven together as one. This is the sacred art of living, from the end the act of assuming that what you desire is already fulfilled, of embodying the state of your wish as though it were present, alive, and real. This is not imagination in the passive sense. It is embodiment, the total acceptance that what you seek is already yours. This is the heart of the assumption codato, live from the end, not toward it. To dwell in the state of the fulfilled desire, not in the hope of its arrival, but in the knowing of its presence. For the universe does not operate on time as you know it. It operates on states of being. What you embody, you attract. What you live as, you create. Most live their lives in a state of becoming. They reach toward the future, placing their desires just beyond the horizon. One day I will be wealthy. Someday I will find love. But these statements push the desire further away, casting it into a future that never arrives. The mirror of life, ever faithful, reflects this state of becoming, not being, and so the desire remains out of reach. But when you live from the end, you assume the posture of already being. You speak, move, and think as one who possesses the thing desired. You no longer chase it, you embody it, and the universe, in turn, must mirror that embodiment. Consider the story of Evelyn, a woman who longed for a home of her own. She saved, she planned, but deep down, she carried the assumption that she was still waiting, still hoping. Her outer world reflected that waiting delays, setbacks, missed opportunities. Until one morning, standing by a small window that overlooked the bustling street below, Evelyn closed her eyes and entered the end. She felt the warmth of her own home, the sunlight streaming through windows she chose, the peace of belonging. She let the feeling saturate her being. She walked through her day as though the home were already hers, speaking and acting as one who possessed it. Within weeks, unexpected doors opened. An opportunity arose that aligned perfectly, and the home she had long desired became her reality, not because she chased it harder, but because she lived from the end. This is the assumption code in its most powerful form. It requires not hope, but knowing, not longing, but being. To live from the end is to carry yourself as though the wish is already fulfilled. It is to speak, move, and feel from the state of the accomplished desire. But how do you hold this state when the outer world seems unchanged? This is the test. The world outside is the last to reflect the change. The first reflection is always within. You must become like an actor, fully immersed in the role and not pretending but embodying. The actor feels the emotions, speaks the lines, moves with conviction, and in doing so brings the role to life. So must you embody the state of your fulfilled desire. Let me tell you of Marcus, an aspiring writer whose manuscripts gathered dust as rejection after rejection piled upon his desk. He longed for recognition, for his words to find their way into the hearts of readers. But Marcus lived as an aspiring writer, not as one whose words were already known. His state was one of reaching, not being. One evening, weary of the chase, Marcus made a decision. He entered the end. He saw himself as an established author. He felt the weight of his published book in his hands, imagined the letters from readers touched by his words. He wrote not as one seeking approval, but as one whose words already mattered. In time, opportunities emerged. His work was published, read, and celebrated. But the real shift occurred long before the outer world responded. It occurred when Marcus lived from the end. This is the secret path. Do not seek abundance, live from abundance. Do not hope for love, live from love. Do not reach for success, live from success. The state you occupy is the signal the universe responds to. The outer world must align with the inner state you hold. Sacred practice, Embody the end. Each morning as you rise, choose one desire you hold close. Before the day begins, close your eyes and enter the end. Imagine the scene of your fulfilled desire not as a distant dream, but as a present reality. Feel the emotions, speak the words, move in the world from this state. Throughout the day, return to this posture of being. If doubts arise, gently remind yourself, I am living from the end. Let every thought, word, and action flow from this state of fulfillment. When you live from the end, the assumption code writes a new script. The mirror of life must reflect it. The universe cannot resist the signal of embodied certainty. You are not becoming. You are being. You are living from the end, and the end is already here. Chapter 10. The State of Being. There is a secret far greater than striving, a power far deeper than effort. It is not found in doing nor in endless reaching, but in a simple, profound truth being. The assumption code reveals that your state of being is the cause of all that comes into your experience. You do not attract what you desire. You attract what you are. You do not manifest what you wish. You manifest the state in which you dwell. The world, for all its noise and movement, follows this silent law. Your outer circumstances conform to your inner state. This is why the rich grow richer, the loved are loved again, and opportunities seem to find those who are already fulfilled. It is not because they are lucky or chosen, it is because they inhabit the state of their desires. They have assumed a state of being that reflects their chosen reality, and the universe, like a faithful mirror, returns that reflection. But here lies the liberating truth: you, too, can choose your state of being. You are not bound by past patterns, by old stories, or by external conditions. Your state of being is a choice, renewed in every moment. Consider for a moment the difference between acting as though you are successful and being success itself. Acting requires effort, pretense, performance. But being is effortless. It is a state you inhabit, a vibration that resonates through every thought, every word, every step. It is the silent language that tells the universe, this is who I am. Let me tell you of Marcus, a man who had long struggled with feelings of inadequacy. No matter how much he achieved, no matter the accolades he received, he never felt successful. He chased success, but it always seemed just beyond reach. Until one evening, sitting quietly beneath the soft glow of a solitary lamp, Marcus understood. He was chasing something he had not yet become. His outer actions did not align with his inner state. So he made a decision not to do more, but to be different. Each morning, before the world awoke, Marcus entered the state of being successful. He felt the confidence, the ease, the sense of accomplishment, not as a future goal, but as a present reality. He carried this state with him into the day, allowing it to inform his actions, his posture, his words. And as he inhabited this state, the world around him shifted. Opportunities arose, relationships deepened, and success, once chased, flowed naturally toward him. The outer reflection had no choice but to mirror the inner state. This is the essence of the assumption code. Being comes before having. You must be the person who has the life you desire before that life can manifest around you. But here is the paradox, that many overlook the state of being does not require outer evidence. It is chosen first, held within, even when the mirror of life shows no change. And yet, the moment you truly inhabit a new state, the universe responds. Imagine the state of abundance. To be abundant is not simply to have wealth, but to feel and live from the truth that you are already provided for. When you dwell in the state of abundance, you carry yourself differently. Your choices reflect confidence. Your actions flow from trust. The mirror of life in turn reflects more abundance, for that is the signal you send. Or consider the state of love. To be love is not to wait for another to validate your worth. It is to embody love within, to radiate warmth, to dwell in the vibration of connection. And as you inhabit this state, love finds its way to you, not because you seek it, but because you are it. But how do you enter a new state of being, especially when the world around you shows no evidence of change? The key lies in feeling. You must feel the state as real, as present, as true. You must walk as the person who already inhabits this reality. You must breathe as they would breathe, speak as they would speak, choose as they would choose. Inhabit the state fully, and the outer world must align. Consider the story of Julia, a woman who longed for peace. Her days were filled with chaos, her mind a whirlwind of worry. But one evening, beneath a sky filled with stars, Julia chose to enter the state of peace. She closed her eyes, breathed deeply, and felt the stillness she desired. She let that feeling expand, filling her chest, softening her body. And though the outer chaos remained for a time, her inner state shifted. She began to respond to life from peace, not from anxiety. Her choices reflected calm, her words carried grace. And slowly, the world mirrored her new state. The chaos softened, solutions appeared, and peace became not just an inner state, but an outer experience. This is the power of being. The assumption code teaches that what you are is what you create. The outer world does not shape your being. Your being shapes the outer world. Sacred practice, embodying the state. Each morning, before the world claims your attention, take a moment to choose your state of being. Sit quietly, close your eyes, and ask yourself, who am I being today? Not what are you doing, but who are you being? If you desire abundance, enter the state of abundance. Feel the trust, the ease, the knowing that you are provided for. If you seek love, enter the state of love. Feel the warmth, the connection, the joy. If you desire success, inhabit the state of success. Feel the confidence, the certainty, the satisfaction. Hold this state for several minutes. Let it saturate your being. Then, as you move through your day, act from this state. Let your choices, your words, your posture reflect the being you have chosen. The assumption code does not require more effort. It requires alignment. It asks that you become first and receive second. Your state of being is the foundation of your reality. Choose it with care, hold it with certainty, live it with faith, and the universe, ever faithful, will reflect it back to you. Chapter 11. Persistence in Assumption. In the garden of your mind, seeds are planted with every thought, every feeling, every assumption. But the harvest does not appear the moment you plant. The soil must be watered, the roots must deepen, and the sun must rise and set in its rhythm. This is the nature of manifestation. It responds to the law of persistence. It is not enough to assume once. You must persist in the assumption until the harvest is ripe. The assumption code reveals that your reality is crafted through consistent embodiment of your chosen state. Persistence is not about force or strain. It is about holding steady, standing firm in your inner world, even when the outer world shows no signs of change. The universe responds not to fleeting moments of certainty, but to the constant signal you send through sustained assumption. Too often, we plant a seed of intention, and when the outer world does not immediately reflect our desire, we dig it up with doubt. We question the process, disturb the soil, uproot the seed before it can grow. But the wise gardener knows that the seed works invisibly before it ever breaks the surface. The roots extend beneath, preparing the way. The same is true for your assumptions. They take root in the unseen, in the subconscious, before they bloom into form. Let me share the story of Nathan, a man whose dreams always seemed just out of reach. Each time he assumed success, he felt the surge of possibility. But when the world did not mirror his desire within days or weeks, doubt returned. He would question the process, abandon the assumption, and begin again, never allowing the roots to grow. One evening, walking beneath the soft glow of the moon, Nathan understood. His assumptions had never been given time to flourish. He had not persisted long enough to see the harvest. From that night, Nathan made a sacred vow to hold his assumptions steady, regardless of what the outer world showed. He began to assume success, to live in the feeling of it daily. When doubt whispered, he returned to the state of certainty. When the world offered no evidence, he persisted in the feeling of accomplishment. Weeks turned to months, and slowly, the outer world began to respond. Opportunities emerged, doors opened, and success flowed to him not because he forced it, but because he persisted in the assumption long enough for the roots to take hold. This is the law of persistence. The outer world does not always reflect immediately, but the assumption code is at work beneath the surface, aligning circumstances, people, and events in ways you cannot yet see. Persistence is the act of remaining faithful to your chosen state. It is the decision to stand in the truth of your assumption, even when the mirror of life reflects something else. Consider the story of Hannah, a woman who longed for healing. For years, she carried the assumption of brokenness. But one day, she chose a new assumption: I am whole, I am well. She felt the truth of it. She lived in the state of it. Yet, when symptoms lingered, when the mirror of her body showed no change, doubt crept in. But Hannah persisted. Each day, she returned to the feeling of wholeness. She spoke the words, she felt the truth. She held the assumption steady, and in time, the mirror of her body began to shift. Healing flowed, strength returned, and the assumption, faithfully held, became her reality. This is not magic. This is not mere positive thinking. This is the law of persistence in assumption. The outer world bends not to fleeting desires, but to the steady signal you broadcast. The assumption code is a living current, responding to the frequency of your state, amplified through persistence. Like a radio signal, it must be held long enough for the station to tune in, for the music to play. But persistence requires faith. It requires trust in the unseen, in the knowing that the roots are growing beneath the surface, even when you cannot yet see the bloom. Here is the deeper truth. Doubt delays, but persistence delivers. The moment you waver, you interrupt the current. But when you hold firm, when you return again and again to your chosen state, the universe must respond. It is law. Imagine the state of wealth. You assume it, you feel it, you live from it. Yet the bank account shows little change. The mirror reflects lack. But you, the persistent creator, remain steady. You continue to assume, to feel, to embody the state of abundance. Over time, the outer world aligns. New streams of income flow. Opportunities arise. Not because you forced them, but because you persisted in the assumption long enough for the reflection to catch up. Or consider the state of love. You assume yourself to be loved, cherished, chosen. Yet the phone remains silent. The outer world reflects solitude. But you, faithful to your assumption, hold steady. You feel the warmth of connection within, regardless of what the mirror shows. And as you persist, love finds its way to you, for the reflection must align with the image. Sacred practice. The anchor of persistence. Each morning, choose one assumption that you desire to hold steady. Close your eyes. Feel the state of the wish fulfilled. Let it fill your body, your mind, your heart. Throughout the day, when doubt arises, return to this anchor. Reaffirm your state. Feel it again. Persist in the assumption. When the outer world shows you the old reflection, do not waver. Remember, the mirror takes time to catch up to the image. Hold steady, persist. Each evening, as you lay your head upon your pillow, return once more to your assumption. Feel it as real. Let it saturate your being as you drift into sleep. The assumption code responds to persistence, not to fleeting desire. Persist in the state, and the universe must reflect it back, for the seeds are planted. The roots are growing, and the harvest is certain. Chapter 12. The Invisible Bridge of Trust. Between the world of your desires and the world of your current reality lies a bridge unseen, intangible, but unbreakable. It is the bridge of trust, the silent force that connects what you have assumed with what must eventually appear. This bridge is not built with hands or effort. It is constructed entirely of faith, of unwavering belief in the unseen, of knowing that the assumption code is working even when all evidence suggests otherwise. Trust is not passive. Trust is active alignment. It is the decision to remain in the state of the wish fulfilled, to walk the invisible bridge without looking down, without questioning whether it will hold. It always holds. The bridge never fails. It is our own doubts, our turning back, that keeps us from crossing. You must understand, trust is the power that sustains the assumption. The moment you assume a new state, whether it be wealth, love, health, or success, a current is set in motion. The universe begins to rearrange, to reflect this new signal back to you. But as the mirror adjusts, there is a period where the outer world may still echo the old assumptions. This is the sacred gap. And trust is the bridge that carries you through this space. Let me tell you of Lucas, a man who longed for a deeper purpose in his life. For years, he wandered, feeling unfulfilled, waiting for something external to point the way. But one day he realized the call was within him. He assumed the state of purpose. He felt the meaning, the clarity, the fulfillment. But weeks passed, and the outer world seemed unchanged. Yet, Lucas held steady. He trusted. He walked the invisible bridge, knowing that the reflection would follow. And in time, it did. Opportunities emerged, connections aligned, and his purpose, once distant, became his lived experience. This is the power of the bridge of trust. It is not built by force. It is walked by faith. But trust is often misunderstood. Many believe trust means waiting without action, but true trust means acting from the state of the wish fulfilled even before the evidence arrives. It is the quiet confidence that moves you forward, even when the path ahead is shrouded in mist. Imagine the seed planted deep within the earth. The gardener does not dig it up each day to check its growth. The gardener trusts the process, knowing that beneath the soil, the seed is awakening, the roots are spreading. So too must you trust the assumption code. Once you have planted the seed of your new assumption, trust is the water, the sunlight, the nourishment that allows it to bloom. Consider Naomi, a woman who yearned for financial freedom. She assumed the state of abundance, feeling the freedom, the security, the joy. Yet her bank account reflected the old story. But Naomi did not allow the numbers to sway her. She trusted the process. She made decisions from the state of abundance. She invested in herself, gave generously, acted with confidence. And in time, the outer world aligned. New streams of income appeared, unexpected blessings flowed, but these were not the cause of her abundance. They were the reflection of the state she had trusted in long before they appeared. This is the sacred truth. The universe responds to your trust. It reads the steadiness of your faith, the consistency of your signal. When you trust the assumption code, you walk the bridge before you see the other side. You move as though the path beneath your feet is solid, even if your eyes see only empty space. And in doing so, the path appears. The bridge becomes real, but trust is tested. The outer world may show remnants of the old reflection, echoes of past assumptions. Doubt may whisper, "This isn't working." But you, the conscious creator, must return to trust. You must feel the truth of your assumption, even when the world says otherwise. Sacred practice, walking the invisible bridge. Each morning, after you have chosen your assumption, affirm your trust. Close your eyes, breathe deeply, and declare, "I trust the process. I trust the unseen. I trust that what I have assumed is becoming." Throughout the day, when the mirror of life shows the old reflection, return to this trust. Feel the certainty that the bridge holds, even if the outer world remains unchanged for now. Act from this trust. Make decisions, take steps, speak words from the state of your wish fulfilled. Each night, before sleep, reaffirm, "I trust that what I have assumed is done." Feel the bridge beneath your feet, solid and sure, even though it cannot be seen. For trust is the current that carries you across the sacred gap between assumption and manifestation. The assumption code does not fail. The bridge never breaks. It is only your trust that completes the journey. Walk the invisible bridge, and the world will meet you on the other side. Chapter 13. The Echoes of Gratitude. There is a song that plays beneath all creation, a silent vibration that harmonizes with the rhythm of the universe. This song is gratitude. Gratitude is not a polite gesture, nor is it a transactional thank you offered for receiving what you wanted. It is a state of being, a sacred resonance that aligns you with the frequency of fulfillment. Within the assumption code, gratitude is the final chord that seals your assumption into reality. It is the echo that tells the universe, "It is done." Gratitude is the language of completion. It does not plead, it does not yearn, it does not chase. Gratitude assumes the wish fulfilled. When you are grateful, you declare that the manifestation is already yours. You shift from seeking to receiving, from wanting to being. Gratitude aligns your heart with the state of abundance, the state where all desires are already met. Consider the simple act of breathing. You do not fight for each breath. You do not beg for the air. You receive it, knowing it is available, feeling gratitude without effort. This is the posture of one who understands the assumption codito. Feel gratitude for your desires as though they have already been received, knowing they are as certain as the next breath. Let me share the story of Evelyn, a woman who sought love but carried the weight of longing in her heart. Each day, she imagined connection, companionship, the warmth of shared laughter. But there was always a quiet ache, a silent plea beneath her assumptions. One evening, sitting beneath a tree bathed in moonlight, Evelyn heard the whisper of her soul. "Be grateful as though love is already here." And so, she began to feel gratitude for the love she had not yet seen. She thanked the universe for the presence of connection, for the embrace she had yet to feel, for the joy of companionship. And something extraordinary happened. The ache softened, the plea dissolved. Evelyn moved into the state of fulfillment, and soon the outer world reflected her gratitude. Love appeared, not as something chased, but as something received. Gratitude transforms the state of lack into the state of abundance. It is the echo that ripples through the mirror of life, returning reflections of your chosen assumption. But here is the sacred truth: gratitude is not reserved for after the manifestation. It is the pathway to it. When you are grateful now for what you have assumed, you align with the vibration of completion. You tell the universe, "I have received." And the universe in turn reflects that truth. Consider Michael, an artist who struggled to sell his work. His heart longed for recognition, for appreciation of his craft. but his focus remained on the absence, on the sales that had not yet come. One morning, inspired by the Assumption Code, Michael shifted. He began to give thanks for the patrons he had yet to meet, for the appreciation his art would receive. He felt gratitude as though the galleries were already filled with his creations. Each brushstroke became a prayer of thanksgiving, and the world, reading the signal of his gratitude, aligned. Invitations arrived. Galleries opened their doors. His work was celebrated not because he pleaded for it, but because he had already received it within. Gratitude, then, is more than emotion. It is an energetic declaration. It speaks to the universe in the language of certainty. But many mistake gratitude for a passive response. True gratitude is active participation in the creative process. It is the act of filling the space of desire with the presence of fulfillment. It transforms the energy of waiting into the energy of having. If you desire wealth, do not wait for the bank account to change. Feel gratitude for the abundance already flowing. Thank the universe for the prosperity that is arriving, as though it is already here. If you seek healing, do not focus on the absence of health. Give thanks for the vitality, the strength, the wellness that is blooming within you now. This is the Assumption Code in motion. Gratitude closes the loop between assumption and manifestation. It seals the vibration. It sends out the signal, I am fulfilled. Sacred practice, the circle of gratitude. Each day, begin and end with gratitude for the unseen made seen. In the morning, as your eyes open, speak words of thanks for your assumptions as fulfilled. Feel the gratitude for the wealth, the love, the health, the success that is already yours in the unseen. Throughout the day, when doubt arises, return to gratitude. When the outer world shows you the old reflection, thank it for the journey, knowing the new reflection is coming. At night, as you rest, close the day with gratitude. Feel the completion of your assumptions. Declare, thank you, it is done. Let this gratitude echo within you, rippling through the mirror of life. And watch as the universe responds not as a reluctant giver, but as a faithful reflection of your fulfilled state. Gratitude is the final word in the language of manifestation. It is the song that tells the universe, I have received. And the universe, ever faithful, sings back, so it is. Chapter 14. The Circle Completes. There is a moment, sacred and still, where all the threads of assumption, feeling, trust, and gratitude come together, forming a seamless whole. This is the completion of the circle, the point where what once lived only in your imagination stands before you in full form. But here is the deepest truth of the Assumption Code. The circle does not complete when the outer world changes. It completes within you, long before the reflection appears. Manifestation is not the end of the process. It is the echo of a circle that has already closed inside you. When you assume a new state, persist in it, trust the invisible bridge, and saturate your being with gratitude, the circle completes not because the world confirms it, but because you have already confirmed it within yourself. This is the final step, the silent knowing that it is done. There is no more seeking, no more yearning, no more questioning. The circle has closed. The desire has merged with fulfillment within your heart, and the universe, ever faithful, reflects back the completion of your inner journey. Consider the story of Leah, a woman who dreamed of becoming a writer. For years, she scribbled her thoughts in journals, imagining the day her words would find their way to others. Yet, beneath her dreams lingered the assumption, I am not a real writer yet. Her efforts felt incomplete, her dream always a step away. But one evening, sitting at her modest desk with candlelight dancing on the pages, Leah felt the shift. She stopped waiting for the world to declare her a writer. She declared it herself. She closed the circle within. She assumed the state, I am a writer, I am read, I am received. She no longer sought validation from the outside, she gave it to herself. And as the circle completed within her, the outer world aligned. Opportunities appeared. Her words found readers. Not because the world had changed first, but because she had. The Assumption Code teaches that manifestation follows the circle's completion within. It is the natural reflection of a journey that has already ended in the heart. But the world, conditioned as it is, teaches us to wait for evidence, to measure our worth by what we can see and touch. The Assumption Code offers a different way. It teaches you to feel completion first, to know that the reflection cannot remain unchanged when the inner state has become whole. Imagine the process as a wheel turning. The moment you assume your new state, the wheel begins to spin. Persistence keeps the momentum. Trust builds the bridge. Gratitude fuels the motion. And when the wheel comes full circle, when the inner vibration settles into certainty, the outer reflection appears. It is not the beginning of the journey, it is the final echo. Consider the story of Aaron, a man who longed for healing after years of physical pain. He sought remedies, treatments, outer solutions. But the pain remained, a faithful mirror of the assumption he carried, I am broken. One morning, weary of the struggle, Aaron chose to complete the circle. He assumed the state of wholeness. He spoke to his body as though it were already healed, felt the strength as though it already pulsed through him. The circle closed not when the symptoms vanished, but when Aaron felt whole within. And in time, his body reflected this truth. Healing emerged, not from the outer remedies, but from the completion of the circle within his being. This is your sacred invitation, to close the circle, to stop waiting for the mirror to change, to know without question that what you have assumed is already true. But here is the mystery. Completion of the circle is not loud. It is not marked by fireworks or grand gestures. It is a quiet knowing, a soft exhale where the desire dissolves into fulfillment. The need to chase fades. The striving ceases. You simply become, and in this becoming, the world shifts. You may ask, how will I know when the circle is complete? You will know because you will no longer need to ask. The question dissolves, the seeking stops. You feel a deep, settled certainty that it is done. The Assumption Code works through this silent completion. The outer world, ever a mirror, cannot help but reflect back the wholeness you have claimed within. Sacred practice. Closing the circle. Each day, after you have assumed your desired state, pause. Feel the completion of the journey within. Declare, it is done. I am. Release the need to watch the mirror. Release the urge to question the process. Feel the circle close within you. Feel the wholeness, the completion. Trust that this inner state is the cause and the reflection, the inevitable effect. In moments of doubt, return to the circle. Feel it complete again and again until it becomes your natural state. The Assumption Code is not a cycle of endless doing. It is a sacred circle of being, trusting, and receiving. The reflection will follow. The mirror will align. But the circle completes within you first. And when it does, you will know. You will feel the quiet power that comes from the truth. I am. It is done. Conclusion. The code has always been yours. And now, beloved listener, as we stand together at the close of this sacred journey, know this truth: it was never about the words on these pages, nor the teachings alone. It was always about the remembrance of your own power, the unlocking of a truth that has always been written in the chambers of your heart. The Assumption Code was never outside of you. It has always been yours. From the moment you first desired, you were already creating. From the first thought you assumed, your world began to take form. The reflections you see around you now, they are not the verdicts of fate or the judgments of destiny. They are echoes of the assumptions you've carried, often unknowingly. But now, you have seen the pattern. You have read the code. And more than that, you have remembered that you are the author of your own reality. This journey has not given you a tool. It has restored to you the scepter of creation, the quiet, commanding, knowing that your assumptions shape the very fabric of your existence. With every chapter, with every word, we have peeled back the veil that separated you from your own creative force. And now, as the circle completes, you hold the code fully within your grasp. But this is not the end. It is a beginning, a threshold crossed. The mirror of life stands before you, awaiting your command. The universe, infinite in its reflection, asks only one question: what will you assume now? The assumption code is not a one-time act. It is the way of life. It is the sacred rhythm of being, trusting, persisting, feeling, and receiving. You have learned to assume the state of your wish fulfilled, to feel it real within you. You have crossed the invisible bridge of trust, even when the world offered no evidence. You have persisted, even when the mirror delayed its reflection. You have rewritten the past through revision, planted new seeds through inner speech, and sealed your manifestations with the echoes of gratitude. This is the rhythm of the Assumption Codian, eternal dance between inner knowing and outer reflection. But remember this final truth: it was never about the outer world. It was never about bending reality to your will. It was about remembering that reality is your reflection. It moves not because you force it, but because you align with the truth of your being. And now, as this chapter closes, stand tall in the knowing that you are the creator, the silent architect behind every experience. The code was never locked. It waited for your recognition. You are not here to strive. You are here to assume and receive. To walk through life as the master of your own story, writing new chapters with each assumption, knowing that the mirror will follow. As the sun rises and sets, as the tides ebb and flow, so too does the Assumption Code operate with unwavering precision. It does not falter. It does not waver. It responds faithfully to you. So go now into the world, not as one who hopes, but as one who knows. Not as one who waits, but as one who commands with gentle certainty. Speak within yourself the words of creation. Feel the state of your wish fulfilled. Trust the invisible bridge. Persist through the unseen. Gratitude will seal your knowing, and the circle will complete again and again with each assumption you embody. The Assumption Code is no longer a mystery. It is your way of being. And so, with love, with reverence, with the deepest knowing, I say to you, it is done. It is written. It is yours. Go forth and create. If this journey stirred your soul, like, share, and subscribe to carry this wisdom further. Let others remember their power, just as you have remembered yours. And as you walk forward, assume boldly, trust deeply, and create fearlessly. The universe is always listening.